My name is Sapphire and this is my testimony. I would have basically grown up in Barbados. I was born in Dominica, but I left when I was 4. My family and I would have lived in St. Kitts for 4 years, and then we lived here for 10. So Barbados has largely been my home. When I was in my second year of university or so, my parents decided to move back to Dominica, but it was my plan to, remain in Barbados. So after I was finished my degree, I would have applied for an internship in Barbados, and I got it. So I was here for around 2 months. At the ending of that period, I started applying for jobs and really praying that God would make a way for me to be able to stay in Barbados. And in August of 2016, I would have gotten a prophecy from Prophet Dwayne that he saw me in Barbados, that this would be my base. And that's really what I was praying for. That's really what, my heart wanted to hear. I took that and I really ran with it, and I was applying for jobs. I had some interviews lined up, and I was really believing that they would come through and I would stay. But things didn't work out as I had planned. It didn't work out as I thought God had planned. I didn't get through with any of my job interviews, and I ended up having to return back home to Dominica because, my parents were not here, and I had to go home if I didn't get a job. Within a week of being in Dominica, I got a job, which was very surprising and a bit confusing because I still wasn't 100% sure or understood why it was that I didn't end up being able to stay in Barbados. I worked in Dominica for about a year, and then I left to the UK to pursue my studies by a master's. And during that time period, I don't think I necessarily, thought, okay, I'd still be returning to Barbados. I thought I must have done something wrong and my path got redirected, that sort of thing. At the end of my master's program, my plan was to stay in the UK, get a job, work for a couple of years. But again, things didn't work out as I planned, and I prayed about it. And at the end of 6 months post finishing my master's, I had gotten the most rejections I've ever gotten in my life. I was discouraged, and at that point in time, my student visa was coming to a close. In more ways than one, I had to go home. So I went home and I continued searching for jobs. And it was even harder than before. With the pandemic, there was no jobs available. After around 3 months, I saw an internship based, the organization is based in Barbados, but it was remote in each CARICOM member state. I applied for it and I got it. In my mind, it was just something to do to pass the time. And at the end of that 2-month internship, the same organization advertised an apprenticeship program. There were 3 positions. I applied to 2 of them. One is my first choice and the second kind of as a backup. I ended up getting my backup choice, and I was a little bit disappointed but still happy that I had an opportunity. I got to come to Barbados. Looking back, I can see even from then, God had his hand in everything. So the position that I ended up getting was perfect for my qualifications and my interests, even if I didn't realize it at first. And it connected me to the right person who I needed to be connected to, my supervisor, who I now consider my mentor. She was really pivotal in my journey here so far. I would have realized, I want to stay at the organization. I want to stay in Barbados. And I think it's within that time I first remembered the prophecy that would now have been 5 years ago that I would have gotten from Prophet Dwayne. And I spoke to my supervisor about it, and she said there's nothing available. There was no workaround with that. And the months passed, and I would ask, and she would vouch for me, and she would try, and nothing was working out. So the month that my contract would have been up, I got a call maybe the second week in July from the executive director, my supervisor, telling me that miraculously there was a position available. They have found funding. I was very shocked. I almost couldn't believe that everything I had been praying so hard about was starting to happen. I went home. Before I left, I was told I would get the contract. I didn't see anything. While I was home, 2 weeks passed, no contract. And I started to worry that, the same thing that would have happened to me in the past with the UK job that fell through, it was going to happen again. And it was around that same time that convention was happening. And I felt so strongly that, the messages were speaking to me, that God was telling me to hold on to the promises that he had made to me, that basically a door would open where there was no door, and continuously asking him for strength as I worked hard to prove that, they could not afford to lose me. That was my goal. Praying really hard, and it was tough, but I prayed and I believed. I tried my best. The last week in August, the executive director, he called me, and I remember feeling like, okay, this is going to be bad news. Something happened. The funding fell through, because it was just so long since I had heard. Why he was taking so long was because they wanted to increase my salary offer. So during that time when I was waiting, it was actually a good thing rather than a bad thing. And the original offer that was verbally communicated to me was lower than what I had been praying for. And the finalized offer was almost the exact figure of what I had asked God for. And I was just blown away at that point. I was even more blown away that one of my sisters would be coming to Barbados to go to UE, and the other one would be coming to pursue her studies at sixth form. So everything came together, and the salary offer, it was what we needed for me to be able to get an apartment for my sisters and I, for us all to stay together. And everything just came together so perfectly. Signed my contract the end of August 2021. That would have been almost 5 years exactly from the prophecy that I would have gotten from Prophet Dwayne. It just really blew me away that, this is not something I could have planned. I would not have thought 5 years ago that it would take so long for the prophecy to come true and that everything would align so perfectly. But it's quite obvious that God planned it. And I am just I feel so blessed, and I feel so loved. And I hope that, my experience and my testimony would encourage you to believe in what God promises you. Sometimes it seems like he's slow. Sometimes it seems like he's not hearing, but he hears, and he acts in exactly the right time. He knows what he's doing. He's working behind the scenes. He loves us immensely, and I just hope that you're blessed by this testimony.